Today we're going to be talking about some specific revision techniques that have to do with researched writing, like we're doing in many of the essays this semester. You obviously still want to pay attention to specific feedback from your peers and from me. You also want to pay attention to revising things like structure, the coherence, the flow of your essay, your use of evidence, and all that. All the things we've talked about all semester clearly are very important. But there are a few small things related to formatting that are not really up for debate. They're very simple, they're very straightforward, which actually makes them easier to check than some of these more nuanced things that we learn in an English class. So I want to just go over a few key things and some easy ways that you can check these to make sure that they're where they should be. Now, if you look at the rubric, this is the antithesis essay, but this is very similar to the other essays that use research. First, we get our formatting, right? And it says MLA formatting is met in all requirements such as heading, header, so that's the format of the document, in-text citations, and works cited page. And like all other sections of the rubric, I do it on a gradated scale based on how well you did. But this is something that students sometimes have trouble with, and I try to make this as explicit, as direct as possible, because this is something that is technically plagiarism if you fail to do this. So that's why it's a pretty harsh penalty, because I don't want you to be guilty of plagiarism in another class and then end up failing the whole class. So if at the end of the day you lose 20 points, it can sting, but it's better than failing out of an entire class. So that's why I want to impress upon you this important rule. The sources in your paper, the ones that are actually cited with specific in-text citations and are used as evidence, must match the works cited page. Okay, that's absolutely essential. The nice thing is there's a very easy way to check that. Okay, let's say this is my essay. Okay, I look and see that my document formatting is correct, student name, teacher name, course, date, title, header with the last name and page number, all that great stuff. What I would recommend doing for your own essay is go into your works cited page after you've already completed everything. Okay, and this is what I do when I grade your essay. So this is a good insight into what I do to grade you. Look at the first part of all of your citations. It's either going to be a last name or a title. If you don't have an author's last name, remember MLA calls for the title to come first. But whatever the first part of each citation is, that is what needs to be in the in-text citation. But you'll notice, looking at this big chunk of text, it's a little more difficult to really quickly pinpoint what each source is. And that's because I do not have a hanging indent, so we want to make sure we add that. So the easiest way for this is just to enter all of your citations, finish them, then highlight all of the text, like this, and let's hope it actually works. Then go up to Home, then it says Paragraph. There's this little button right here. Click on that. Then under Indentation, Special, you want to go down to Hanging. That will give you what's called a hanging indent. What do you know? Perfect. Each line on the beginning is not indented, but everything else is, which is the opposite of a normal indent, so that's why we call it a hanging indent. Okay. Now we can see very clearly, here's what should be cited in this essay. Meyer, Nixon, Lipton, and Gardner, or Harris, because there's two authors, and then Smith. Okay, so the easy way to do this, just to make sure, is to hit Control F, okay, Control F for find at the same time, and then you get a little navigation bar. This used to be called find, that's where the F comes from, but now they call it navigation, which is fine. Just start typing in each name. So Meyer, hit enter. Well, what do you know? That appears in the essay, right? For the Chicago Tribune. That means that this source was cited in the essay, so it counts. Next, Nixon. Hey, what do you know? Ron Nixon. Oh, and this person even got cited a few times. Even better, using multiple pieces of evidence from a single source. Now, Lipton should be next, and we see Eric Lipton and Gardner Harris, so those guys are represented. Perfect. And then Smith. Oh, see, here we have the problem. Smith only appears on the works cited page, meaning that this source is not cited anywhere in the essay. Now, maybe you decided that you put in, in the Food Inquirer, or the title, or something like that. Well, even though you're giving your reader some indication of where your material came from, you're not citing it correctly. But that's something that you don't usually get slammed too hard for. I do take off some points. But if there's no indication that this source is used, either because maybe you never found any good information from it, you put it on your works cited page because you read it, but you never used it. Well, no, you only put things that are actually cited, works cited. And if it is used, then you definitely better go through and make sure that you actually put the citation, because otherwise that is officially plagiarism. So we want to make sure that we take care of that, either deleting the source or adding the citation as need be. So that is the easy way to check it. Once again, that's Control CTRL on your keyboard, Control F. At the same time, that'll give you this navigation bar. You can check those things. And then, of course, that's also a good way to find all your in-text citations to check the formatting, right? It takes you right there. This one I would say, oh man, Nixon, New York Times, perfect, but oh, we put the year instead of the page number, so I would know to revise that. That's a really helpful tool. So as you're revising your essays, make sure you pay attention to all those things, but then add in this quick search of your sources to make sure that you are meeting those requirements, those thresholds for basic research writing.